Okay, it's been about a month now. Somebody came in, said, hey, you can put 8-scale buggy tire on these rims and get yourself a different tread. Okay. I ran his bike, but he had a lot of aluminum, and I'm just not sure what the tire did. So I took a bike, I made one myself, and if you just, I mean, the tire took a beating, and I really think the reason why is just, it's really, really hard because, okay, we're using a truggy foam, but the buggy tire had to be stretched so far over that. It's so square on the edges, and it really, and I ran this on a grooved up track. It was after we had a good race, 8-scale race on it, and it was just like asphalt. So, and it's really, really difficult because of the traction. I tried the slicks, but what I'm going to do is show how to make, I think, a better tire if you want a different tread. And the thing I don't want to forget to point out, like the right edge here is really beat up, and when you lay this over, you're on a square corner. You're only on this much tread, really. So what I did, and I'll have to go through how I did this. This is a truggy foam truggy wheel where I've trimmed that. Okay, and I didn't have to force it. I'm just thinking if the foam fits on there, maybe I can do something with the wider tread. And maybe someday somebody will make us more tread options. That has to do with the popularity of the toy. So if it's just a novelty item, nobody's going to invest money, but you can see a height difference in this. And then that they're round. You know, the one on the right, the truggy tire, is round. So I'm going to show you how I did that. Yeah, I gotta get a shot of my cutesy stuff. That off, so I've recycled this, and I used a Dremel with that's their heavy duty wheel. It's a little thicker than you can't see that, but it's unusual to see one get worn down that far. Usually they blow up on you. So wear safety glasses if you do that. Easier ways to use acetone or acetone. I would pull the hardware out of that, and you give it a. It just takes time. At least overnight. I go 24 hours with them. I do recycle these. These are recycled. These are some set of truggies. The only thing new on that's the tread, you know, the rubber, the tire itself. You do have to, whatever, precautions on that. You wear the rims out, etc. But I'm recycling this rim. I got a half a dozen tires now in various states with the knobbies. The wheel you can get, various states of wear, and recycling the rim is a thought. I don't know how the spokes, how these hold up to the acetone till I try that, but that takes so many hours. So I used a Dremel and some 100 grit, clean that up, and then this is the tire that was on that buggy tire. So you can see how much I had to stretch it. I had to stretch that a lot to get that over that, and you don't have to do that. If we take a truggy wheel, and that, see, that more matches that rim, and it's actually right along this bead line, right along where the tread starts. I don't know, these are gridiron. This is a soft gridiron. I think they hold up pretty good. It will give me a different kind of tread. You see how that fits on a rim. So I'm going to make 2 of them here. And then the profile of it looks a lot better than overstretching something like that on it. Truggy foam. It's got a little bit of we're not stretching that. And then this is recycled too. So I don't really have anything to lose trying this stuff. This was recycled. These are new. So these treads are new, and that's the only thing new on that. I just cleaned that up. Okay, so the foam, so we'll see from this blue one. The foam, what I did was I cut this much off. Just with a pair of scissors. You need some decent scissors. So I'm coming into these inner, but what I'm actually trying to do is keep that. So it's just along the edge of this, where this bead, the inner part of this where the bead sets in that. So we have a little bit on the sides out here. This one, this foam, this is the one that I did with the buggy tire here. I actually had tapered that a little bit too. I don't know, I'll fit these on there and see which one looks better, so I don't know if I want to trim that. Now the tire, so when you're cutting the tire, you can see that I cut that right along the tread line, and you want to keep it straight. So this will take a little time, and I'm going to cut the other one here, but I'm not going to do that on the camera. That's ridiculous. So I'm going to trim that real straight, and I have two of these. I'm going to try to put two together. Okay, so I cut that right along the edge of the tread. I can give you a width on it. Okay, so I had to go get calipers to measure this. So this is 2 inches, 340. And I think that's important because not all treads are going to start at the same distance. So you need enough to wrap this. I got to believe we're going to get a 50 thousandths leeway. Okay, so you get your foam on here. We're going to get our tire centered on this, both of them. And the reason I'm doing two, I'm going to take the one that's recycled and teach myself how to do that. And we'll do it on the other one. So it'll take a little bit to get that to fit. I'm going to do that to both. Get them so they fit in the bead pretty good. Show you how to glue it. Okay, so here's one glued together. And I'll tell you what I learned from that. Look at the profile, because this is a truggy tire. They're about the same, the thickness right here. I'm not going to measure that, but because the truggy tire is not quite as tall as the Moto tire. Profile doesn't look bad. I think I can improve on that. But what I learned is, because we're pulling this across, and we've cut the sidewall off of this. We cut this much of it off. And to make it fit nice on here, I ended up taking this much more off one side, because I had one side tacked on. I just want to rip that all back off there. So you'll see this does not go down the center, and that's because I had this side glued on, and to make it fit I just didn't want to unglue it. But I will use this tire. I will wear it out like all the rest of them. So what I did was I'm down to 2 inches on this, so I took 300 thousandths, a little more than 300 off it. So we're 2 inches here. Okay, and I found that pressing with the nubs on it, and you'll see where I ground, and I basically put a bead around that with this. Put a small abrasive wheel on the Dremel, and just very carefully ran that all the way around there and put a bead both sides of that. I went ahead and trimmed this because of the profile, and I kind of tested it on here to see if it will look right, and I'll show you how I actually glued the tire on. But I took my X-Acto, so the chamfer, I'll show you the little bit bigger, and I tried to, looking down it, try to make it even side to side, because the thing kind of was tilted anyway. This is used, the foam, So the only thing used here is the foam. Okay, over here I reused the rim. And had run the other tire, the one with the buggy wheel on it with that foam. Okay, so this chamfer is about we're a couple hundred thousandths on that. And I just tried to get a 45 on there. But I took my X-Acto knife and I've got thin tire glue. I think, you know, medium or thick would give you'll have a lot more time, but I'd rather use thin. Thin can run all over and get in your work, so, you know, the type glue, but the thin will set up quicker. And so what I did was I took my knife, make sure this is down into that bead groove. And yeah, that's a lot easier. With the nubs on it, it really fought me. I got it into it. I got it all down in there. But you can't do it all at once. So I come in here and I get this started one side and I tack that, which we can do that. Like I said, the thin will set up quicker, and you're only putting a drop on this. So I get that started, and I should open my glue first. And I'm only putting a dot on that. I'm tacking it, essentially. Get yourself a rag. Make sure you don't have it all over. So that's going to be tacked in that spot. And just a dot. We don't want it running all down through here. Thin will run. So I think medium or thick might, but it will take a little longer to set up. The less you put on, the quicker it sets up. So there, that's locked that in. I'm going to go straight across the wheel here. We want to make sure this feels pretty relaxed. We're going to do the same thing. Straight across from that. I'm going to press that in the groove. Press that down in the bead lock. Just the spot. And just a dot. Just a dot. Get that excess off of there. Yeah, this is a lot easier making a bead around here. We're only 2 inches wide on the rubber. So we can kind of test the profile by going to the other side. We'll go straight across from where I've locked that in on one. And that looks a lot better to me. Oops, you couldn't see it. That gives you an idea where. Now the reason I'm going across is the ripple, because we've cut the sidewall off a truck tire. And the only reason I would do this is going to do better on a harder packed, or you get into something where, like right now, my indoor track, it's just been sitting, it's getting harder and harder. And I will try this, but I'm not going to try it today. It's too cold. It'll be a couple more days. Wind is just still hammering. So now I'm coming roughly 90 degrees from there. Try to make your little pucker about the same. We're going to push this, and it really goes in with my finger now. I mean, I really had to push it in there with the nubs still on it. Again, I'm just putting a dot on there. I don't want to glue that whole rim up. And you just keep breaking this into quadrants, so go straight across from that one to here. Then you're going to come up to here, across to here, and pull all that pucker in. And I'm just putting a dot in at a time. Then when we got it on, we're happy with everything. I want to make sure that this whole thing is glued up. So I'm going to go through and do that to this whole rim. Come across here, just keep spot gluing that, let it set up, let it hold that tire down in that bead. Good. We cut the sidewall off a tire. And the reason that I would do this is, like the knobbies, this knobby on the bike I run the most, that's probably been on there 3 weeks, and I definitely know as I get into harder and harder, the track packs down, it wears the tire out. And so this would be, because this should hold up better in a hard pack. I've tried their tires. We only have the Supermoto, which the front wheel on that is smaller. I'm going to say, I have not only seen them glued together, so they must say Supermoto rim on them, because it's a smaller rim. But anyway, I'm going to glue this up. Okay, so there's one side there done. Got to do this side yet. That was definitely easier. Like almost no puckers in this at all. So grinding the nubs off, and you're never going to touch that. If you're over that far, your wheels are just going to spin anyway. I was going to say, to help guide, this particular tire has this on the inside, and this, so if you're following a line like this, will help you. You know, you got to keep that spacing, but could help a person keep this straight, because you want it straight and even, the cut all the way around. And what I did, I didn't follow that, I could have, is I followed a set of nubs around. Same thing on that side. So I'm going to glue this side up now and see what the profile looks like. I think it's going to look pretty good. Okay, so I'll show you the very last quadrant on this. I was doing this sitting down, now I'm standing up. I didn't really have to use the knife that much with this. Hit that with a paper towel. That actually helps it dry out a little quicker. That's on. We got one little bit left. A little bit left right here. Boom, right in the bead lock. Paper towel again. Okay, so that's profile. It looks a lot like the hole shot you get from them. It doesn't have a hub, so I can't really spin it or balance it even. Balancing's another thing. But I now have two. This one's definitely better. Man, I like that. Gridiron, and this will hold up. I've tried the hole shots, and man, take chunks out of them out there. Literally just take chunks right out of them. So I will test this and include it. That'll be part of this a couple days from now. I like it. I want to do some diameter comparisons on these tires. So hopefully it's within the scope of my gauge. I don't want to get a tape measure out, because we're all the way out with it too. It just moves hard out there, so I won't move it. So we're right out to 6 inches with the caliper. Okay, I'm glad they're not any bigger. I have to get a ruler. So their hole shots, it's a little snug on the 6 inch. Put that over here. And then we got the knobby. This has got some wear on it. That's right at the 6 inches too. Okay, the Promoto or Supermoto. Supermoto's about an 1/8 inch smaller. I don't know if you can see more than that. It's a little more than an 1/8 inch. So the Supermoto wheel is quite a bit smaller. That's a rear wheel. Let's see, the one that I made is, that's in between the Supermoto and the stock wheels, because I wondered about the diameter difference in it too. That's important. So I took the less perfect one and ran it. Yeah, because of the compound and the tread, I mean, it did great. It held up. It did no kind of weirdness, nothing. So functional homemade tire. I just got to show a hole shot, what I've done to hole shots out there, and that, I mean, it wasn't one run, but they worked fine too, but they didn't hold up. So if we can get a different compound some way, and that's a way we can do it. There's a way we can make a tread, and I can see a use for that. So, excelente. And you know, if we're running Losi Promoto, keep tapping the throttle.